Morning, Supervisors.
Hey Ryan, good morning. How you doing?
Doing well. We can hear you and see you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem. No, you're good. Hey, you working. I just think all this about this folks. Oh, crazy. I'm saying thing
Good morning. Good morning.
I now call the January 14th, 2026 City County Board of Supervisors and Land Use Legislative Session to order. Brian, please call the roll for today's session.
Thank you, Chair Lawson. Before I call the roll, I'd like to note for the record that Supervisor Desmond is participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. At this time, Supervisor Desmond will make a statement about participating remotely and disclose whether anyone over the age of 18 is in the room with them, as well as their relationship to the supervisor.
Well, thank you. I'm participating remotely because I'm still sick with the flu, and no one is in the room with me.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. With that, I will now call the roll. Supervisor Anderson. Here. Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem here.
Here.
Vice Chair Montgomery Stats.
Here.
And Chair Lawson.
Here. Okay, thank you so much. Before we begin, I'll take a moment to address House rules. Public engagement is the cornerstone of transparent and accountable government, and the Board of Supervisors meetings are primary venue where state agents can make their voices heard. Our county is committed to a work environment free from unlawful discrimination and harassment, including sexual, racial, religious, age, disability, and any other forms of discrimination or harassment. Under our board's rules, speakers may not use loud, shouting, threatening, impertinent, slanderous, profane, or abusive language to any member of the board, staff, or general public. In addition, all remarks and questions must remain on topic during the duration of your speaking time and must be addressed to the board and not to county staff. Any speaker who engages in comments that break these rules will be issued a warning. After one warning, will be asked to leave the chambers for the remainder of the meeting. Finally, speakers threatening violence may be reported to law enforcement and removed. This is a space for community engagement, deliberation, and progress, not harassment, violence, and hate. We now proceed with closed session reports. Council, is there a report for yesterday's closed session?
Yes. The Board of Supervisors met in closed session on January 13th, 2026 from 2:43 p.m. to 3:32 p.m. 4 board members were present with Supervisor Desmond absent. The board took no reportable actions and approvals.
Thank you so much. We now proceed with non-agenda public comments. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within our jurisdiction, but not our meeting agenda today. The only action you may take is a referral to the CAO. Under the board's rules, speakers may speak once per meeting, either at yesterday's or today's session, but not both sessions, and you may select which one to address at your meetings. To better facilitate the meeting, we have 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers by phone for non-agenda public comment at the beginning of the meeting. The remainder will be heard at the close of the session. Additionally, in accordance with board rules, for any discussion item with 10 or more speakers, individuals have 1 minute to share their opinion. According to Rule 4A, the members of the public that are non-English speaking need interpretation assistance receive twice a lot of time for their comments. And a final reminder, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or do anything that disrupts the proceedings. If you disrupt the meeting, you'll be given 1 warning. After that warning, disrupt the meeting again, you'll be directed through the chamber for the remainder of the meeting. Brian, please call the speakers.
Thank you, Chair Lawson Reamer. We have 13 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 9 individuals in person, and 4 requesting to speak by phone. For those that request to speak by phone, please dial the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with in-person speakers, and we'll now randomly select the first 5 speakers in person. All the names for speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it's your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board, and please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals, Oliver Twist, Rita Javier, and Elena Thompson.
Madam Chair, while we're waiting for people to come to the podium, I'm going to be able to see some speakers, some comments. I'm wearing this gold sweater today because tonight is the Native American Appreciation Night at the Gold. And one of the cards in my district, the ACOS is sponsoring it, and 2 of the council members designed the hats that are giving away tonight. So I just wanted to make sure so we take time to focus on people's business.
Thank you very much. Okay, please continue.
You can go ahead with your comments for Rita.
I am Korea here. Senior with existing medical condition and victim of ceramic health toxicity next door since 1984. We made or have been voicing our community concern, but for some reason it has never been addressed since June 2021. The import of our health and safety is real. We are hurt physically, emotionally, and financially as we find solutions at the county air pollution control district, city, and even Senate. To this advisory board, this is a surplus respectfully recommended from study and result of where will help our legislative leadership for policy making in support of aging and independent services. As the response from local authority, it appears that the problem has only been described as pointing finger and or silence. In our twilight years, this is an obstacle to a healthy longevity for us taxpayers, thus the victims. APC.
Next speaker.
Hi, good morning, Oliver Twist. And for the record, for those at home watching, I want everybody to know that Chair Lawson Ritter has stepped out of the room for my public comment. I'm here today to advocate as the voice of the voiceless, the victims that cannot speak for themselves. The actions of this chamber yesterday were completely egregious, that you chose to honor a woman who not only impeded but obstructed federal officers in the execution of their duties under the auspices of trying to make her a political martyr, when you completely ignore the voices of those who have been done harm by your advocacy of SB 54. In particular, these 2 children, Aria Cruz Asensio, Aiden Antonio Torres de Paz, were killed. Okay, please pause my time. I would like to put on the record, okay, before you understand. Okay, I understand, but what I'm saying is Corinna Contreras was allowed to stand here a few meetings back with the climate action campaign in advocacy. She had an oversized poster and she was allowed to present it. And so I am asking for the same equity. And if you would like your legal counsel to look at that, I can go back and find that meeting, that I absolutely have proof that you allowed this to happen before.
Ma'am, please continue with your comments.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for your respectful treatment, Deputy. I appreciate it. Anyway, continuing with my time, starting is, again, these voices will not be silenced. And again, that is a form of censorship about any kind of sign, whether I had it on my shirt. The sign is not blocking anybody's view, so please rethink that. And this has made all the richer with the irony of you. There are people, progressives, that say that this is about democracy, when in fact you won't even let us clap in this chamber. So shame on you for that. I'm asking for you to start tracking IIV, illegal immigrant violence. Give us complete data on that. Start a restitution fund. These families should not have to do GoFundMes to get restitution. Take the $5 million that you're putting towards illegal immigrant defense and put it towards restitution for victims of IIV. And I will adjourn today's memory in Aria Cruz Asensio and Aiden Antonio Torres de Paz. Thank you.
Just real quick, right before we move to the next speaker, I believe the issue with the posters are, we would prefer that we have permission from families before we show children's faces on public TV. So we would just ask for now that we not, I wanted you to be able to continue, but that we not do that right now, because we really want to honor any child and their family. So that was what that's for. So we will continue on with the next public comment. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, they did have public GoFundMes.
Lena Thompson? You don't want to speak on non-agenda at all? Okay, we'll go ahead and remove you. Then I'll invite for the next, please, with the next three is Miss Lachelle, Kathleen Lippitt, and Elizabeth Walker. You may come forward in any order. Again, Kathleen Lippitt, Miss Lachelle, and allegedly Audrey.
I don't think it's right. My name is Kathleen Lippert. In light of Martin Luther King's birthday and our celebration of him, the core message in Martin Luther King's fight for racial equality was about unity and harmony that brings us together. Achieving racial equality relies not only on our ability to see and appreciate our differences, but our willingness to look beyond them. The disharmony, resentment, and anger we often see today is evidence that the policies of social justice and equality that prioritize ideological groups over the individual through a lens of equity or equality undermines Martin Luther King's work toward bringing us together. Pseudo-postmodernism, socialist, and Marxist strategies were designed to sound virtuous, but wherever they have been tried, they have sown misery, economic ruin, and violence. Martin Luther King fought for equality under the law, not special treatment of some at the expense of others. That is prejudice. But you can't take them all into account. It's technically impossible to list all the ways that you might be oppressed, and they're too numerous to list. How are you going to weigh them? Who's going to decide whether you are oppressed? You have to fractionate the opposed, the oppressed, all the way down to the individual. And that is what the Western civilizations did. At the root of Western culture is that no accident that the axiomatic individual was somehow, who was unfairly nailed to a cross and tortured. Pick up your suffering and bear it and try to be a good person. Thank you.
Again, allegedly Audra and Ms. Lachey.
Virtue signaling, like you actually care about children, is a bit nefarious when you traffic children. And you don't want people to know about the children that have died at the hands of an illegal immigrant or been raped. You don't even have to show their picture, say their name, but you can at least talk about it. Instead, you want to talk about all of the political theater that you guys love to play around with. And so I'm here to continue to talk about Malaya Kanzai, and I'm actually going to read a statement from Ricky Robinson, who is the grandfather and the voice for his granddaughters, Malaya and Zaya. He is here because San Diego Child Welfare has taken his granddaughters from their blood family and refuses to give them back, despite documented bonds, despite completed case plans, despite the children crying to come home at every single visit. What he is witnessing is not child protection, it is the permanent removal of children from their family while the system closes ranks to protect itself. His family has been retaliated against for speaking out. Restraining orders were used to cut him off from his own granddaughters. An elderly dependent, his mother, was caught in the middle of this, and she died while the girls were kept away. They will never see their great-grandmother again. The harm cannot be undone. When families expose misconduct, they are punished. When children suffer, the system looks away. And when the truth is spoken here, you walk out. He is here to put San Diego on notice. People are watching. This case is public. The trauma is real. These children belong with their family, not the system, not to get collected money on. You may ignore us, but you cannot erase what you have done. The hammer is coming down on the trafficking of children and the money and the racketeering that is going on. And so you guys will be held accountable because San Diego is being looked at. And you will not get away with trafficking Malaya and Zaya any further. So you need to course correct immediately.
Final call for Ms. Lachelle. Okay, we'll go to our fifth and final speaker, then Cesar Javier. Seeing Caesar in the chamber or any movement, we'll go to our next speaker, Jennifer Royson.
Hello. My name is Jennifer Royston, in the County of San Diego Child Welfare Services. So my son completed case plans. They alienate our family. What are you guys doing? You guys are supposed to unite families, make them strong. That is why you get funding, and yet you use that money to put in your own pockets. You do not unify, you don't help, you destroy families, you destroy these children that are going to have long-term problems, and nobody seems to care. But what I can tell you is that our president, $10 billion gone from HHS. Those ships he's bombing are connected to the cartel that is connected to all of this, and you are dirty for what you do to children. I don't understand why you don't care about our society, about making a better world. All the money in the world is not going to make you a happier person. You are still going to die, and you'll never get what you truly wanted because you were so greedy and so disgusting on this earth. These children matter. My son matters, and I want him back. I just don't... We're tired of the lies, the manipulation, the gang stalking. That $10 billion got taken away, and that's what they use to gang stalk these low-level social workers that take incentives to take away people's children. People should be pissed off that they are preying on low-income families. Like, stop crying about ICE, cry about other people.
Hello, my name is Gregory Goodwin. I'm calling in for option A. That is the only option to choose this point. So
Sir, just to be clear,
we do appreciate all your help.
Sir, because we're on a non-agenda public comment. So you're speaking currently to matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on our agenda today. If there's an item on the agenda that you want to speak to, you should call back for that item. So if you have anything further, you just if not, it would be kind of during the appropriate items. We can consider your comments then.
Greg, did you have any other comments? Greg? Do you have any other comments on non-agenda?
I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, go to our next caller.
Hi, good morning. Before you start my time, I want to make sure that the individual showing the video keeps this video up, please. Is that possible?
Yes.
Of the emaciated horse on Artesian Road?
Yes, we're working on that right now. I'll let you know when it's up, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, you may begin your video has been shared.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Laura Faheen, president and founder of Los Angeles Alliance for Animals. The news that continues to come out of Artesian Road is absolutely horrific. This is years of cruelty towards animals and people in the community. And we know that when one force is ignored, all animals and all life in this county is at serious risk. I wanted to express some serious concerns about Deputy CEO Andrew Strong's comment that animal cruelty is taken very seriously. I'd like to ask Andrew Strong, how is that? Because right now, under his leadership, including Director Vaughn Marie, the department is completely crumbling. It's all over KPBS News. We have Supervisor Tara Larson-Reamer, who clearly doesn't clear language on our teacher road not being removed. We have dogs in county shelters not on behalf of my statements, but behalf of employees and volunteers. Retaliation on behalf of Director Vaughn Marie, hired by Andrew Strong, was rampant in the department. You all know about this. Not to mention the assistant director he hired believes dogs are shit. The list goes on. Mrs. Reamer, I want to make sure this is on clear record so I have evidence of it. All the dogs, all the horses in our region will die because of you. I know you don't care. That's very clear. This is a perfect example of your failed leadership, lack of human decency, compassion, empathy, or concern. You are not above the law, nor is one of the worst Deputy District Attorney Eric Bodner this county has ever seen is above the law, nor is DA Summer Stephan. And I want to make sure that is also on record. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Go to our next caller.
Hello, I'm against the county's animal cruelty and I support the illegal immigrant violence fund. And shows cultural misappropriation outfitted as good as her usual fashion sense. And I find it amazing how Jen can do it today, but not yesterday when it matters. And also that you'll allow me to comment twice in a row. 2 days. Thank you very much.
Yeah, what's that?
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Supervisor. My name is Kenia Peraza. I'm a school board member for my district in San Isidro, and these are my individual comments and not from the board as a whole. I respectfully want to ask this board to take a closer look at the child welfare case involving two little girls, Malaika and Zaya, and consider the broader implications this situation has for families. Despite the mother completing her case plan, child welfare has announced its intent to terminate reunification on February 17th. Shortly thereafter, the girls were sent out of the county to the Dominican Republic. Please hear them. Please hear the mother. Please hear perspective. Decisions of this magnitude deserve careful revision. Removing children from their mother, extended family, and home country is irreversible. These actions raise serious questions about how reunification standards are applied and whether family preservation remains a meaningful goal in practice. This board has an opportunity to ensure transparency, accountability, and consistency in how child welfare decisions are made. Advocacy does not mean interfering with the courts. It means ensuring systems are functioning as intended and that children's long-term well-being remains the priority. Please, San Diego should be a place where families believe that completing a case plan matters, that reunification is real, and that government processes are fair and humane, most of all. I ask.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chair Lawson, your the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. Again, all remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's segment.
Okay, thank you very much. We now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda. Items 1 and 2 today. These items are received and will be acted upon with one motion. Individuals can comment after supervisors pull any items they would like to discussion. Vice Chair Marquez.
No, I just support the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Chairperson Andrew.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Anderson.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Supervisor Desmond.
Nothing to pull and no comments.
Thanks. Please go ahead and move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson. Number 3, you have 5 total requests to speak on items on the consent agenda, 3 individuals in person, and 2 requested to speak by phone. Again, for any individuals that are requested to speak on items on the consent agenda by phone, please dial the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it's your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record. Also, please, when speaking, identify which items on the consent agenda item you're speaking about. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Cesar Javier, and Kathleen Liddick. And again, you may come forward in any order.
I'm going to speak on both of them because what you guys do is quite ridiculous, the way that you take care of things or pretend to take a job and then, later cost people more money to make sure that you can go and fix what wasn't really fixed or what was, partially done, like adding slurry seal and things like that. But the point is to get us out of our cars. So it's like you're not really going to be taking care of that kind of infrastructure to make sure that people can get around and travel because you're trying to impede our ability to do so to pretend to save the planet. And it's all a bunch of propaganda. And when you guys sit here, even with the culvert repairs, I feel like you guys wait until the last minute to make a bunch of fixes, which cost the people a lot of money. But we've already seen how that affected people in the storm, which again was done because it was cloud seeding, so you guys don't want to believe in geoengineering and weather modification, but it's happening right above the skies above us. You think those are contrails, but those are chemtrails, and they're very toxic to the human being, but it doesn't really matter because it gives you guys your whole climate agenda that you want to push, and it's really disturbing because it's like, you think that it would bother you that we're being sprayed with not only human DNA but heavy metals, nanothermite, graphene, things like that. And if you really cared about the planet, it would bother you that they cloud seed and, you know, it causes storms here, right? And people lose their lives or their, you know, possessions and different things, and then, you know, the city sues them for trying to get things like that back. So, you know, you guys need to start really thinking about course correcting, because you can constantly push all of this stuff because you get money for doing it. And it's detrimental to you guys as well. So, you know, get your shit together.
And again, Kathleen, Olivia, or Cesar Javier? Okay, that sounds good. So no more in-person speakers, and also not seeing anything to do in chamber by Cesar. We will go to the callers, and again, for those who requested by phone, when it's your that ability to give your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first callers.
Juan Soto. I'd like to comment on 1, 3, and 4. Can you hear me?
Juan, I'm going to pause your time. What is on the consent calendar is 1 and 2. You'll have to hold your comments for 3 and 4. Those are separate discussion items. So you can comment on 1 and 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll just do 1 and 2. On the one thing, okay, about the asphalt roads. Now, the city of San Diego has gotten such a problem with this problem. And hopefully, I don't know if you guys have your own crews that do that, or you sub it out. It looks like you sub it out, which is a great thing, because that could save the county a lot of money instead of paying pension benefits to guys doing road repair and stuff. Because you know, all sorts of things in the county, it'd be great to sub it out. Don't carry the pensions on the people. Let the private companies do the work, attorneys, whatever it is, but the city is in such a pension fiasco. I know the county's got a little more money, but that's what I would just like to comment on. Keep the asphalt roads under private companies, whoever does the asphalt work, and then go with that. So hopefully, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to our next call.
Okay, Consuelo here. Okay, so today's consent calendar, let's see, it includes contracts for asphalt, slurry fill, and countywide culvert repairs. Okay. On the surface, what happened? Okay, I don't know why I'm getting a message from, I'm now positioned, 60 seconds. What's going on with your, no, you gotta pause my time, sorry, something's going on. I got this lady talking to me, talking about, I know, you can hear me, but a little operator lady saying I'm gonna be up in 58 seconds.
Okay, let me go ahead. I'll restart your time. Are you trying to speak now? Is the message on?
I can hear you, Ryan, yes, I can hear you, but I have somebody coming in. Okay, so you're gonna restart my time?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, got it. Okay, so, on the surface, that sounds responsible. Infrastructure matters, roads matter, drainage matters. But here's the problem. This county is not maintaining infrastructure. It's reacting to neglect while continuing to waste money on nonsense that does nothing for the people. And will also oversight contracts, inflated costs and emergency fixes, and call it stewardship. That's not stewardship. management. And while we're talking about asphalt, let's talk about what's actually in them. Chemicals are in the asphalt being laid across our communities. What heavy metals, residues, and particulates are collecting in these drains? And where does the runoff go? Because it doesn't disappear. It enters our soils, our waterways, our air, and ultimately our bodies. If this were truly claims to care about environmental protection and land preservation, then you should also care about what is being sprayed, dumped, and dispersed into the environment. The public should not have to rely on documentaries and whistleblowers or independent researchers to ask basic questions about environmental exposure. And here's what's most concerning. We've had supposed leaders, including former pilots, Jim Denson, claim that they can't tell the difference between condensation and a chemtrail. That activity in the sky is obvious. And it's just a shame. And your supposed leadership means looking up, asking questions, having the courage to say, we need transparency, we need testing, and we need honesty. But that'll never happen. That's like a, right?
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Well, great speech, Ms. Crowell. I've got a contract for asphalt and slurry seal. Not sure what pavement condition in 2016 that you mentioned in the board record has to do with conditions in 2026. But anyway, now that you have the SB1 money, you can go ahead and pick the road which meets certain criteria, which you had just done as continuously instead of singling out a few roads. Hope you can fix all the roads in need of repair out of the goodness of your heart and the welfare of the people, which seems to be lacking, by the way. But waste of taxpayer money matters. Hope there is a big thank you to the state, which offered to supply about 89% of the money. But can someone please explain why county road contracts have an 8% contingency fee, while contracts for the city and permanent road division program have a 20% contingency, outrageous and more than double. Until this is fully explained to people, I recommend a no vote. 2, the culvert repair. I'm glad that you want to fix up 62 drainage culverts, non-incorporated areas. Hopefully there will be less flooding as a result. However, a 15% contingency fee is ridiculous. Please explain this again until this is fully explained to the people. I recommend a no vote. We need contingency fee. Raw deal on the homeless tiny cabins and on.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chair Lawson, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion by Vice Chair Montgomery Stepp, second from Chairperson.
Roll call vote today since Supervisor. So with that, Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Yes.
Chairperson Aguirre.
Yes.
Vice Chair Montgomery Stepp.
Yes.
And Chair Lawson.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We now move to discussion item 3, hearing report back and seeking direction on the draft strategic canvas program and this I'll hand it over to our for presentation.
Good morning, Chair Lawson, Rayburn, Supervisors. Today's staff will provide an update on the draft socially equitable canvas program, or SECP, and request policy direction on 3 program decision points. Today, no formal action is requested on the outcome of the program. Staff seeks direction and preparation for the summer 2026 hearing, where formal action will be requested. The
past few years. In March 2017, the board directed a ban on any new cannabis facilities. There were 5 permitted cannabis dispensaries in the incorporated area that are still existing and have been allowed to continue operating. In January 2021, the board directed staff to amend both the zoning ordinance and regulatory code to facilities in the unincorporated area. This direction aligned with state requirements for a 600-foot buffer from cannabis facilities to sensitive uses, including schools, daycares, and youth. 2021, the board directed staff to develop EIR to analyze the environmental effects of the SECP. On June 15, 2022, in response to community concerns, the board directed staff to analyze and incorporate 16 new measures into the draft SECP that go beyond the minimum state requirements. These include analyzing Project Alternative in the TEIR, which required a 1,000-foot buffer from an expanded list of sensitive uses, such as parks, public trails, and residential care facilities, among others. On April 30th, 2024, the board provided policy direction on the social equity program. As part of this direction, a ceiling of 25 licenses for retail storefront facilities or dispensaries was established in the unincorporated area, with half of those being designated for social equity applicants. There will not be a licensing ceiling for other cannabis license types. There will be a 3-year head start for social equity businesses that will be prior to non-equity businesses.
Based on the board's direction, the SECP was developed consisting of 4 major project components. The first component is the social equity program, which is led by the Office of Equity and Racial Justice. The social equity program will provide eligible persons support to establish or gain employment in a cannabis facility. The purpose of this program is to address the adverse impacts that cannabis criminalization has had on people and their communities. The second component proposed regulatory requirements are revisions to the county's regulatory code and zoning ordinance, which specify where cannabis facilities can be located and how they operate. The third component is the Program Environmental Impact Report, or PEIR, and the fourth component includes developing procedures to issues to run a cannabis facility.
Draft amendments to the county's ordinance and regulatory code to establish where and how cannabis facilities can operate. These were released for a 60-day public comment period. Facility types could include cultivation, retail dispensaries, on-site consumption lounges, temporary events, and manufacturing, among others. Facilities could locate in certain agricultural, commercial, or industrial zones outside of a state-mandated 600-foot buffer from schools, daycare centers, and youth centers. While the state regulates cannabis facilities, the county can apply more location restrictions and requirements. The draft zoning ordinance requires cannabis facilities to comply with performance standards related to lighting, fencing, noise, odor, and water source, among others. The draft regulatory code establishes operational and safety requirements and includes standards for security and odor control. It also outlines when regular inspections must take place. To operate, all cannabis facilities would need to obtain a state license, a local land use permit, and a local cannabis business license, as well as any other approvals from state resource agencies. Later in this presentation, staff ordered fixtures or changes to draft ordinances that address stakeholder feedback. The draft SECP includes the preparation of a Program Environmental Impact Report, or PEIR, as required by the California Environmental Quality Act. The board directed the preparation of a PEIR to potentially streamline the environmental review for future applicants. The draft PEIR along with the draft ordinances, was released for a 60-day public comment period from January to March 2025. The draft PEIR evaluated 5 project alternatives: sensitive uses, buffer distances, allowed facility types, and whether to allow, restrict, or prohibit outdoor cultivation. The draft PEIR found that adoption of the SECP could result in significant and unavoidable environmental impacts. These include impacts related to aesthetics, temporary construction-related noise, odor, groundwater, water supply, and transportation. All project alternatives would have similar impacts, with the exception that outdoor cultivation facilities would result in odor impacts that could be lessened if outdoor cultivation is prohibited. The final PEIR, including responses to public comments, will be made available to the public in spring 2026, prior to any future public hearings.
Staff participated in more than 280 outreach events during program development. During the public comment period, we received feedback on the environmental analysis, the draft ordinances, and the program overall. Starting with the environmental analysis, some community groups and members raised concerns about cannabis odor and asked for stronger odor control standards at cultivation facilities. They also expressed broader concerns about environmental impacts. We also received recommendations to modify the list of sensitive uses and buffer distances. The applicants and the Farm Bureau asked to narrow the list of qualifying sensitive uses and buffers, citing concerns that broader definitions would significantly reduce the number of viable locations for cannabis businesses. And public health advocates supported expanding the list of buffers. They also raised concerns about odor concentration of mixed light or greenhouse facilities, as well as outdoor cultivation. In addition, staff received comments from public health advocates to oppose cannabis use altogether. These comments focused on public health concerns such as addiction, mental health, and youth drug prevention. There were also concerns about impaired driving related to cannabis consumption at lounges and temporary events. We'll now move into the 3 decision points that require direction from the board. The first decision point relates to land use regulations. After the public comment period ended, staff met with community planning and sponsor groups, industry advocates, and social equity advocates to address their concerns. Based on that outreach, staff developed 3 program options for the board's consideration. Direction today will help staff understand the board's policy goals and ensure those goals are reflected in the draft ordinances. Each program option balances and aligns with state law, stakeholder input, and equitable access to the cannabis market. All options include the same core safeguards, but differ in 3 key areas. The first, buffer distances and the definition of sensitive uses, which affect how close facilities can be located to homes and community services. Influence of the potential for clustering or over concentration. And third, cultivation limitations, which determine the type and scale of cannabis cultivation that would be allowed. These variables will influence where cannabis facilities can locate, compatibility with surrounding uses, and market accessibility. Here are 3 program options. I'll briefly highlight the key differences. Option A requires a 600-foot buffer from school to state. It is preferred by future applicants, agricultural groups, and industry advocates. It provides the greatest number of eligible locations and the highest level of market accessibility. Options require 1,000-foot buffers from an expanded list of sensitive uses, along with additional buffers for types. These measures respond to stakeholder concerns related to odor, environmental impacts, and land use compatibility. As a result of these expanded buffers, both options B and C allow for fewer locations than option A. Option B and C also include separation requirements, a 1,000-foot separation between the facilities and a half-mile separation for certain cultivation types. These requirements are intended to reduce potential odor impacts and limit odor concentration in order to address quality of life concerns and reliability concerns. Where options B and C differ is that option C prohibits outdoor cultivation and includes additional sensitive uses, making it the most restrictive option. Option B, with fewer sensitive uses than option C, allows for more potential retail locations and is viewed as more attractive to potential applicants. Option B expands community protections beyond state standards while maintaining sufficient locations to support equitable participation in industry viability. Option C would result in a smaller, more limited cannabis industry, but with highest levels of safeguards to address local concerns. Moving to decision point 2, staff are seeking direction from the board on whether to retain or remove on-site consumption lounges and temporary cannabis events from the draft social ethical cannabis program. During outreach, staff heard significant opposition from community groups to these uses. Concerns included impaired driving, odors, traffic, secondhand smoke, impacts on law enforcement resources, and challenges related to access control. As currently proposed, temporary cannabis events would be limited to 2 operating days. They could occur no more than 6 times per year at a single site. Events would be required to include security, lighting, odor management, and waste control plans. Consumption lounges would be allowed only as an accessory use to a retail storefront and would be required to include ventilation, odor control, and on-site security. Alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis-infused use would not be permitted. This decision point reflects through the outreach process. The board previously directed staff to incorporate and respond to those comments, and the framework presented today reflects that direction by clearly outlining operating standards, safeguards, implementation considerations, and concerns regarding.
Next is decision point 3. The board directed staff to pursue a community equity contribution program, or CECP, in 2022. Staff was directed to explore the potential of incentives that will provide direct benefits to the community where these facilities and operations are located. The intent of the CECP would be specific to cannabis facilities and could include funding for education, community beautification, and other community-related benefits as part of the overreaching cannabis program. Staff has identified an approach to the CECP that would allow cannabis businesses that provide a community benefit to apply for grants up to $5,000 per business with a matching component. We recommended businesses work with community to implement community benefits. Possible benefits could be improvement of parks, community art, or murals, tree planting, micro grants, community gardens, historical markers or place art, bike racks, and local staff hiring. To qualify, cannabis businesses must be up to date on their taxes and provide an ongoing community benefit. If the board directs the Office of Equity and Racial Justice to continue to develop the CECP, additional programming details will be provided in the summer for board consideration, and the program will begin in fiscal year 27-28. Program funding would be from the existing social equity program budget.
Actions are not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act or CEQA pursuant to Section 10506(b)(3). Any future actions will be reviewed in compliance with CEQA and presented to the board for consideration prior to approval. Staff is seeking the first direction on 3 decision points. The first decision point relates to land use program options to ensure staff understands the board's policy goals. The board may select one of the program options as presented or direct modifications, including allowed facility types, sensitive uses, buffer distances, and separation requirements. The second decision point is whether to retain or remove on-site consumption lounges and temporary cannabis events from the draft social ethical cannabis program. And the third decision point is whether to continue developing the community equity program, contribution program, through community incentive grants, which would allow cannabis businesses that provide community benefit to apply for rebates or grants based upon their cannabis tax payment status. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're available to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Any immediate questions? Now we'll start with public comment. Okay, we'll go ahead and move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson. We do have 59 total requests to speak, 44 individuals in person, and 15 requesting to speak by phone, and 6 group presentations. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 83 comments on this item, 57 were in favor, 21 were in opposition, and 0 were against. For any individuals that request to speak on this item by phone, please dial the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will go ahead and begin with the group presentations. You will have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members of the group must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time with the timer on the podium. I'd like to invite forward the first group presentation that includes the following individuals: Robert Wood, Michelle Everton, my apologies if I mispronounced that, and Charles Alexander. Okay, thank you so much. And then whoever's going first, we can go ahead and start the time as soon as you're ready.
On gang violence throughout San Diego, California, and throughout the county of San Diego. Additionally, I'm an advocate. I advocate for different causes, including criminal justice reform and youth justice reform. It's because cannabis, social equity cannabis specifically, incorporated area of San Diego County, I see an opportunity. I don't see something that's going to tear anything up or anything like that. I see an opportunity for revenue inflow. I see an opportunity for jobs. I see an opportunity for increased success in those areas. Fixing streets, fixing roads, some of the money that comes in. New foot traffic, new vehicle traffic, job creation, wealth creation actually. And so with all the opportunity that social equity cannabis involves, I would ask why we want to go against it. And the reason I would ask that is because of this. Very simple. Cannabis is now legal in the state of California. The state of California has looked at it, people have laid out their case, and they put together, do we want cannabis infected with fentanyl going into these communities? No, we don't. The opportunity to stop that lies in social equity is the way to do that. So as we expand cannabis and increase inflow of tax revenues, increase jobs, increase foot traffic for the businesses throughout the unincorporated areas of San Diego County, including places like El Cajon, and give people, just like they did after alcohol, the opportunity to now make it right, to now be the people who say, you know what, we're not going to add any additional drugs to cannabis. We're not going to we're going to come into your community and when we come into your communities, I come into all you guys' communities doing gun and gang violence interruption. I'm about community safety. So we're going to come into your communities and we're going to bring safe cannabis. It's going to be inspected. If we do something wrong with cannabis, if fentanyl comes into with our activities. Operate, whether through growing, through dispensaries, through delivery, and those are jobs that we bring to these areas. So in order to reap all the benefits of cannabis and to have equity, right? Because the state of California already has something to add to that buffer by more than 66%, which is what one of the proposals is, and the other proposal just don't do it at all. That would be inequitable. I thank you for your time.
Districts in San Diego. I'm a volunteer who regularly gives back to the community throughout San Diego. I'm here today to support option A. Like the state zoning perspective, buffer distance are mathematical. Each layer expanded buffers and separate requirements sharply reduce workable site and undermine regulatory effectiveness. The state's 600-foot buffer reflects regulatory experience and for regulations to function effectively. Supporting option A is not permissive, it is reasonable land use policy. San Diego leads on regulations as balanced enforcement.
Peace, everybody. My name is Charles Briex, and I'm coming here as a board member for the importance of Measure A. It makes it much easier for people in our community, Mount Hope and other entities have. We don't have these finances to where we can hire these people to do these different jobs. It makes it much easier for us to hire people in the community to do these jobs. It makes it much easier for us to take the tax dollars and go into our parks. If you know about Mount Hope, we're the only park in San Diego that has two parks, Disney Alley and Gambler's Park, that neither one of them have a gym. Little leagues, none of that. So we need Measure A to put the funds back into this community and rebuild this community. Thank you so much.
With all of this being said,
Robert, you've already used your 4 minutes.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
if any one of your other group members wants to finish the time.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, can I just remind folks, first of all, thank you so much for being here and participating. I see a lot of people who remind everyone there's no clapping in the chamber. Something someone else said, you can twinkle silently. But if you are clapping, I'm unfortunately going to have to ask you to leave the chamber. So thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go to our next group. I'd like to invite forward Vincent Stalcup, Wiley Reno, and Brian Scott. Just as a reminder, you'll have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time, and no one person can speak for more than 4 minutes. And if you could please introduce yourself before your comments. Each person.
Hi, my name is Vincent Johnson. I'm North Carolina. I'm Brian Scott.
Thank you.
So,
Yes, you can.
All right, good morning, Representatives. I'm here from council members, none of that to go to. You guys are only representatives, so here to let you know, I'm your constituent in District 1. I'm from Progressive. I was proud to vote for you. My name is your part of Spring Valley as well. District 4, Pastor Bureau. You know, I've always supported you since the city way back when. So just want to let you guys know. Good morning. Happy to be here. Please be well. So like I said, I'm a resident and constituent of District 1. I've been living here. My parents have been homeowners here for over 20 plus years. My mother serves our community as a teacher. My father's been a football coach at a local high school, which is where I got my education. Now I'm furthering my education at San Diego State in the social work program, which is why I'm here to advocate civic engagement and social justice is my passion, so I'm here for that. So I just wanted to bring to your guys' attention, in the press up, we have 7 liquor stores, 3 bars, no dispensaries, and 1 pharmacy. So I just wanted to put that out there in the name of accessibility and access to safe cannabis and cannabis in general. As a social worker, it's my duty to speak up for vulnerable populations such as seniors, like my parents. My mother is a cancer survivor. My father has had multiple heart failures. I'm an advocate for anybody with autism, and a lot of adults I know with autism use it for sensory overload and overstimulation, also PTSD, ADHD. Back to social equity program, systemic racism. And if you plan to right your wrongs for that, why would you create additional barriers or support additional barriers on any applicant or anybody that wants to open up that has been a victim of the wrong drugs? That's all I have to say. I'm Vincent, I'm here for Spring Valley, and I'm in support of option A. Thank you.
I just want to say, my name is Brother Green. I support option A.
Sir, yeah, we can't hear you. Thank you.
My name is Brother Green. I just want to say I support option A. I live in District 1-2.
I always wanted to do this. I never thought I'd be swearing. I appreciate everybody's attention that's willing to pay attention. It doesn't seem like everybody's really willing to pay attention, but everybody that's here, I see everybody looking at all the speakers, and I appreciate y'all for that. But I'm here to speak about Measure A. Me and my friend Vincent, we have a lot of the same problems. My daughter's autistic. I grew up part of this community. I played Pop Warner, Oklahoma, Spring Valley, like all that growing up. I participated in all rec events growing up as a youth. And I randomly helped youth as a kid. You know, people, back in my generation, we drove around with basketball shorts on, and well, I play with a kid that's just sitting there in front of their yard doing whatever. I feel like for Measure A, safety is going to be the number one thing. I feel like Measure A will make safety it will make safety not, I'm sorry, the word I'm looking for, I literally just wrote it down, I'm sorry. It will make our district safer. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. I appreciate your guys' attention and letting me speak. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. We'll go to our next group, group 3.
Before you go, I just want to thank you all for sharing your experience with your own kids. My daughter's on the autism spectrum, and I appreciate you sharing that publicly.
Thank you. So I'd like to invite for group 3, Shelby, I believe it's Hubaker, Daniel Schaller, and Megan Erlies. My apologies for the last name if I mispronounced this. And then just again, as a friendly reminder, if you could all come up and introduce yourself before your comments, 10 minutes total. You can't speak for more than 4 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Shelby Huffaker, and I'm here on behalf of the San Diego chapter of Americans for Safe Access.
Sorry, can each person introduce themselves? Thank you.
Good morning. Daniel Schaller.
Less greetings, Megan Erlies.
Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of the San Diego chapter of Americans for Safe Access. We are part of a national nonprofit comprised of medical cannabis patients, caregivers, medical professionals. We appreciate the opportunity to comment on the county's draft Cannabis Environmental Impact Report. I will be speaking to decision point number 1, land use, and our position is option A, align with state standards. First, aligning with state standards ensures equitable and sufficient access for medical cannabis patients. A wide range of national and international health agencies now recognize the therapeutic potential of cannabis. In California, 5% of residents, or about 1.9 million people, are registered patients. Applying that rate locally suggests around 25,000 patients in the unincorporated county alone. For these residents, cannabis should be as accessible as other medications. Expanding buffer distances or creating additional sensitive use categories would shrink access in exactly the areas where patients need it most. For example, adding residential care facilities as sensitive uses would disproportionately hurt older adults, palliative care patients, and people with limited mobility, the very groups most likely to benefit therapeutically. It also conflicts with state law, which requires these facilities to allow patients to use medical cannabis that they purchase. Second, aligning with state zoning standards is necessary for the success of the county's socially equitable cannabis program. A 1,000-foot buffer would dramatically shrink the number of viable parcels for operators, especially when combined with overly broad definitions of sensitive uses. Under current county criteria, parks can include trails, easements, community centers, open space preserves, ecological reserves, and even county-managed landmark sites or monuments, effectively excluding large geographic areas from eligibility. Similarly, treating places of worship as sensitive uses is problematic because they can be opened quickly in private residences, and not all faith traditions subject to cannabis. And fewer opportunities to relocate or litigate, such restrictions could be devastating. Aligning with state standards is necessary to uphold the county's stated equity commitment. California's unregulated market still dominates sales. Expanding the regulated market improves product safety, reduces underage access, and increases tax revenue. Research also shows that legalization has not increased youth cannabis use, and cannabis can reduce consumption of more harmful substances like opioids and alcohol. For all of these reasons, we urge the board to adopt option A and align zoning requirements with states. Thank you for your time and consideration. I will now pass it over to the next speaker on decision point number 2.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm a resident of District 4 and I've worked in the legal cannabis industry for the last 8 years. I'm here to strongly support option A, focusing on lounges and regulating the best for patients. Many patients live in apartments, shared housing, or families where consuming cannabis at home isn't possible. Lounges provide a safe and legal space for patients to consume cannabis responsibly without fear of addiction or fines. Lounges and events offer critical, hands-on education. Patients can learn about dosage, product types, and alternative consumption methods, helping them use cannabis safely and effectively. Option A ensures patients a safe place to consume cannabis within our communities. We urge the board to move forward with the option. Thank you.
Chair and Supervisors, blessed greetings. Thank you for your time and your service. My name is Gaynor Elise. I'm a San Diego County resident and combat veteran, and I'm here because I love my community. I also serve the Roll Up for Equity, a community, and the Blue Dream Democratic Club. We gather resident voices on equity and proximity because too many decisions are made like our neighborhoods won't accept regulated cannabis, when the truth is we will accept regulation. What we won't accept is a model that extracts from our community instead of repairing it. I grew up here during the war on drugs. I watched my streets get treated like hunting grounds. I watched households reorganize around absence, one less adult, one less picture. One more kid trying to be strong too early. People were taken in their teens and 20s, the years that form your judgment, your confidence, your direction, the years that decide the kind of adult you get to be. And the whole neighborhood had to live around the empty space they left, raising kids in the gaps. Now cannabis is legal and profitable. Because legalization without repair is just a new economy built on the old womb. If the communities that carry the enforcement are still last in line for ownership, last in line for investment, and last in any real way. That is why on agenda item 3, I'm asking you to continue developing the county's socially equitable cannabis program and continue developing the CECP community incentive grants. Keep building it with urgency and follow through. And I want to be specific about land use. I support the state of line 600-foot buffer. Here's why. Because setting rules decide whether equity is real or just theoretical. A buffer that wipes out most valuable locations becomes a silent ban. The 600-foot standard keeps protections, but also opens up but realistic locations so cannabis businesses can be in neighborhoods they're meant to serve. Hiring from those neighborhoods, operating compliantly there, and generating tax revenue that can be reinvested back into the same community. Equity businesses shouldn't be pushed miles away from the people and places they're supposed to strengthen. If the county is going to talk about community benefit, then make it something we can verify, define it, require proof, report it publicly, enforce it, and build this program so equity is applicable, because a door that's technically open but practically locked is not access. When equity can open legally, when equity businesses can open legally, then benefits are not theoretical. There's local hiring, tax revenue, reinvestment, safer corridors, stronger families, and a lift in morale when people finally see dollars returning instead of people disappearing. This is how you can change the environment our children grew up in. Families, outcomes, system that took people and left trauma behind. Now it's time to balance the ledger. Continue SDCP and CECP. Make community benefit enforceable and make reinvestment in impacted neighborhoods a fact, not a promise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, there are group 4. I'd like to invite forward Nathaniel Shufflin, Eduardo Bautista, and Rafael. 5 minutes coming forward again.
Good morning, my name is Eduardo Bautista. Good morning, my name is Rafael Broker.
Good morning, my name is Nathaniel Shelton. Our group represents the fact that this board has the ability to approve and move forward on a plan that the state has already approved and done plenty of research to make sure it's following many of the existing laws that we have here. San Diego does regulate things like alcohol, but if you look into the history of it, those regulations are placed onto the ABCs, the rules that the state already has. I remember people getting drunk and drinking on the beaches and the problems that it caused. San Diego addressed those and corrected them because they were problems, not because they were new industry that had popped up in their mind or in their experience, and they were regulating it before it happened. This industry deserves the exact same treatment as any other industry that serves adults, and we're just a new industry. That's the only difference, because we've been oppressed for a very long time. It is also important to recognize that the environmental regulations that we have here in San Diego are also state-driven, and our land use, which I also am on the spectrum myself, and I read the land use regulations on a regular basis because of my job. I keep up on it, and I understand that we do need to take good care of our land. And you are dealing with a group of people that, when given the opportunity, will do that, take good care of the land, especially with regulation and enforcement. The most important thing in all of this is that we recognize that everybody in here is, in some way or another, supporting another industry somewhere that's doing potentially more harm than cannabis industry has been doing. If nothing else, if you consume or allow alcohol in your worldview, it is shown that cannabis actually reduces the consumption of alcohol, and I do believe that is part of why we have so much resistance, is the alcohol industry does not want that to move forward. The other thing is the board has just recently approved a in 2020 allowing
of wineries and agricultural temporary use permits where people can join and drink alcohol out in the county. This is exactly what we're talking about as far as giving unfair treatment, I guess, to the cannabis industry, saying that there's no way that the cannabis industry can do this because it would be unsafe. To improve alcohol's use in the county in agricultural temporary use. And that kind of lets us know that there was at least enough advocacy on the wineries' parts to make this happen. And we're just asking for fair treatment and not to be treated in a dissimilar way because our industry is newer because of oppression. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm choosing for manager for corporate and OSHA outreach trainer. And our teaching our training, we don't have nothing on cannabis. And so I just say that though, just the solution of the danger, everything's being built. People are using cannabis. Me personally, I don't indulge. I'm advocating for option A on this agenda. I want to speak on the distance in reference to odor control, and when you get to talking about odor control, you're next to farms and you're next to TJ, you deal with the odors right there, or you just deal with it. I don't know how the regulations or what more can go into the environmental aspects of the 600, the state's 600 feet buffer zone. To me, it's fair. I love the fact that many advocates brought up the war on drugs and its impact on families. It gives a lot of us who were impacted like a new leash on life. And the fact that it helps so many with autism as well as other, debilitating the injuries and diseases is definitely a plus. When people want something, they can have it delivered anywhere. So there's people who where cannabis is not even legal at, but we all know they're having flown in or they're gonna smuggle it in. It's important to know that access. I speak of that because of access to it, okay? Creating these nonsensical buffer zones and hypotheticals. If I was to sit there and push hypotheticals in construction, nothing would get built. And so I say that to just enforce the impact of, of the health of it. The last thing I want to speak about is the importance and the duties, and I know that you guys all care about your constituency, is the duties of fentanyl being put into cannabis that needs to be stopped in some illegal market, and people are going to sit there and they're going to do what they want to do anyway, whether we like it or not. I think it's very important that we don't overly restrict it and have a carrot on the stick when it comes to the rules and regulations of the cannabis shops, and just let it be fully regulated. We had the ability to take away that illegal option and bring in revenue, serious revenue, where you don't have issues like what's going on at Balboa Park because funding is low in one place. So this is funding that's magically disappears right there.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for allowing us the time to speak. My name is Eduardo Batista. I'm here to say that option A is the only reasonable and sensible option. Option A recognizes the fundamental planning reality. Areas within District 2 are not urban environments, and land use policy must reflect the difference.
Applying overly restrictive urban-style buffers and prohibitions to large parcels does not improve safety or compatibility, it simply eliminates reasonable access. The 600-foot buffer from sensitive land use included in option A is both responsible and sufficient. It aligns with established planning standards, protects schools and youth-serving uses, and the inherent public health and safety matter deeply. This is why regulated access is critical. When legal access is pushed out of reach through excessive restrictions, families are not protected. They're forced into longer travel, unregulated delivery, or illicit markets. Option A avoids this by allowing safe, regulated, locally accessible access. Option A also appropriately allows for consumption lounges. For many adults, especially renters, multi-generational households, or visitors, on-site consumption is the safest and most reasonable option. Lounges provide controlled environments, trained staff, and clear rules, reducing impacts on public spaces. Finally, allowing outdoor and mixed-light cultivation in District 2 is both logical and consistent with rural land use principles. These by allowing.
Thank you. We'll go to our next group. Thank you. Eileen Delaney, Stephanie Baxter, Jenny Don. You'll have 10 minutes to address the board. All three speakers of the group must be during that 10 minutes. If you please self-regulate your time, and just as a reminder, no one member can speak more than 4 minutes. And if you can please all introduce yourself before your comments.
Good morning, Eileen Delaney, Chair of the Fallbrook Planning Group. Good morning, Janine Mark, Fallbrook Planning Group. Good morning, Stephanie Baxter, Fallbrook Planning Group. Thank you for having us. I'm going to go off script a little bit, but I have all these notes, so if I stop for a second, please excuse me. I want you to know I am a recent survivor of cancer. I'm in remission right now, and I have 2 members of my family that have autism. But this is not about whether or not we support cannabis. It's not about whether we care if other people use it or not. This is about the residents and what is available to them and the impact that will have on those residents in the unincorporated areas. The Fallbrook Planning Group carefully studied the draft EIR after spending countless hours working with a diverse group of residents, some who use cannabis, some that don't. We determined and really concluded that it was outdated and it was deficient. However, we submitted 14 pages of evidence and fact-based comments with citations on the enormous negative impacts on public safety, environment, health, crime, and other subjects, including the class action lawsuit in Carpinteria, or the class 1 for odors. I'm also the chair, or vice chair, I should say, of the Association of Planning Groups. And at a recent meeting, every single planning group member, chairman that was there representing their area, voiced opposition to this program. There are over 500,000 people that live in the unincorporated areas and towns. And until recently, most of them had no knowledge about this program. And I can say from the input that we've received lately, they are opposed to this. We are opposed to it too. We're opposed to the program. And obviously we support option 4, which is not to develop the program. However, we are also pragmatic. Being so, if you proceed with this program, we ask you to please ask county staff to continue developing option C with no lounges and no events. These are the 2 most dangerous aspects of this program and would encourage impaired driving, which would endanger the lives of residents and drivers. But this is equity for the homeowners and for the residents of the unincorporated areas. If we're talking about equity, then we have to consider those of us that will take the impacts of this program that we're strongly opposed to and is being forced on us. Thank you so much.
Chair, and I was the chairperson on the Cannabis Ad Hoc Committee that the planning group formed. We had a really diverse group. As Eileen said, we had many people who use cannabis and many people who did not. We are not here to discuss what we support or don't support. The one thing that came very clear was that the entire committee, with lots of outreach, were against the land use impacts, which I'll speak about. They also all decided that we're not against a dispensary in the unincorporated areas. With zoning, our residential lots in most cases are rated against ag zone, which is A70 and A72. This impacts residents with odors, lights, noise, fans, security, which include dogs, etc. Infrastructure, a high percentage of our roads in the unincorporated areas are private roads, and this means that the county does not maintain them. That maintenance falls on the residents of those roads. During harvest times, there would be trucks using these private roads, which are mainly in the ag areas, flooding up against the residential. It degrades the condition needed to repair would fall again on residents. Communities with these programs have seen an increase in calls for fire, sheriff, and code compliance. These our services are already stretched to the limits in the unincorporated areas. Also, the tax dollars that people are speaking about go into our general fund, do not necessarily go back into the communities that will be affected the most. So we have to have funds to enhance these things that need them. And referenced in our 14-page draft EIR, the odor is among the top negative impacts. If you look at Carpinteria and Santa Barbara, the odor impacted the entire community. Children could not go outside during recess. Outdoor dining at local restaurants and wineries went down significantly. Residents were unable to open their windows. Joggers, bicyclists, etc. were unable to enjoy the activities that they loved the most. Grape growers, the products were actually impacted. Something that I learned is grapes skins are permeable, and so it actually changed the products of their of their wine. There was a class action suit in Santa Barbara Carpinteria against a large grower, and the class one that was all revolving around odor. Over 5 years, they received over 3,000 complaints. If you narrow that down, it's about 2 again on odor. Farm labor is also being poached from grows, orchards, etc., because cannabis does pay higher labor wage, which is great. Everybody should pay a higher wage. However, it puts local strain on local farmers and increase local food costs and food security at risk. We're just against the land use portion of this and how it will impact over 500,000 residents. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Stephanie Baxter, Public Planning Group. Thank you for hearing us this morning and for all of your work staff. Sadly, when we attended the December Planning Commission meeting where this was presented, it was obvious that the commissioners had not read the 14 pages of comments. As our chair mentioned, that the planning group spent hours and years developing. It was just quite obvious. And that was unfortunate. And I think it's worth noting that those comments that we were asked to provide were obviously not read. The PEIR is inadequate, as was mentioned. It's outdated. It's quite reckless and inequitable. The 550,000 residents of the unincorporated area were not properly notified of this massive scale project. Sure, we had lots of public meetings and there's info on the website and you know what's going on if you are subscribed to this, but for the majority of residents, it was not enough engagement and awareness for this project that will affect over 500,000 people. Today I'm speaking just to the environmental impacts only, which are in our packet of comments. One of the many reasons to pause and reassess this entire program should be that the data and lived experience from other counties who have adopted cannabis programs should be what we are looking at and studying as we're considering such a program. In California counties with cannabis programs, there are 0 positive environmental impacts, 0 benefit to the environment, only harm and hazard. A few short years from now, if we live in a cannabis county, areas like Fallbrook, Bonsall, Valley Center, Ramona, Lakeside, Alpine, Julian, the list goes on. If you are on a well, your groundwater supply is disappearing. You're having rodenticides, pesticides, and fertilizer chemicals in your watersheds. Water sampling analysis at local water districts are detecting higher chemical levels. Nocturnal species are being pushed out by light pollution and noise disturbance. You're not hearing the owls and coyotes anymore. And rodent problems are growing, which means more rattlesnakes. It's called the cycle of life out in the backcountry. The night pollinators like bats and moths are no longer pollinating the riparian areas. Things will change. The noise of barking dogs and generators will replace coyote choirs and owl hoots, as we know. The sound travels. What else travels? Odor travels. The stench on the breeze into your open bedroom and kitchen windows. There's no such thing as fresh air in the country anymore. Our scenic hills and vistas will be changed. When operators vacate, they leave trash, waste, and structures that are destroyed by weather and squatters. And it's an eyesore for neighbors, a fire hazard, and just an unknown what's going on at that property down the road. When law enforcement is called to inspect and address these grows, they are directed not to touch the pesticides on the shelf because they are so toxic. Over the 500,000 people who live in the unincorporated areas, residents, including equestrians, whose public trails are at risk with this ordinance, we depend on representation to protect and enhance our quality of life. I'm not speaking anything new or nothing that you haven't already heard. But if this is not paused, option C is the least impactful of options.
Thank you. All right, we go to our 6th and final group. That consists of Dory Rattray, Chris Barber, and Matt Hopkins. So you have 10 minutes to address the board. All your members must speak for the next 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time. No more than 4 minutes. And if you please introduce yourself before you begin your comments. Thank you so much.
Dr. Matt Matthews.
Thank you.
Dory Rattray, Chair of the Valley Center Planning Group.
Chris Barber, Valley Center Planning Group.
Thank you. Go ahead and begin your comments.
Yes, I am Dr. Matt Matthews. I was a veterinarian for 40 years in the Valley Center area. I'd like to address the recent change in the drug that is present in THC and the like compounds. They have been in the process of being rescheduled. They're very close to being rescheduled as a Schedule 3. Now, this changes everything with cannabis, and I think the board needs to understand what those changes are. And the ability to prescribe on each level of the controlled substances, so I understand the process. Now, a Schedule 3 compound is, and what that will mean is that now it can be prescribed by a medical doctor or a veterinarian in an exam room. And to do that, a diagnosis has to be made. It's data-driven through laboratory assessment and through an educated, licensed medical professional. Now, the prescription is written. Now, this is presented to a pharmacy, not a dispensary. So the pharmacy will get the prescription, and the patient then will get their prescription filled at Walgreens, Costco, Rite Aid, or any other pharmacist
assesses the patient regularly, and at least on an annual basis, the prescription will be renewed. So, with this said, it seems that the social equity idea that we've all been discussing here is now moot. I just would urge the board to realize that the pharmaceutical industry is using THC to create a pill form that is coming from hemp. Now, hemp is grown in the south of the U.S. It does require irrigation in those areas. The plant can be grown safely because the THC level is very low. It has minimal impact on animal life because it's mostly fiber and a large plant. It's harvested by machinery. Now, the THC is purified through a chemical process and concentrated and then sold to the pharmaceutical company and created into pill form. Now, you know, marijuana is a kind of a special sort of cannabis, a special form that is highly concentrated and more toxic. I was a veterinarian. My life work is animal welfare, and I would like to say that animals, be it pets or wildlife, getting access to cannabis, and I'm talking marijuana now, especially in a potent form, creates them into a vulnerable state, and they either succumb to predators or they become roadkill, and that bothers me. It should bother this board as well, and so we protect the animal life. And so my concern is more that, but just the board needs to be aware that the DEA.
Sir, I'm going to pause your time. One individual speaker cannot speak for more than 4 minutes.
Hello, thank you for the time. My name is Lori Rackman, Chair of the Valley Center Planning Group. And as the planning chair, March 31st, 2025, a letter was submitted to long-range planning declaring our code, representing about 22,000 residents of 11 to 1, alternative 1 at the time. And that was no new retail manufacturers, growers, retail locations, events, consumption lounges in the Valley Center. We're here to discuss a program that, while ambitious, presents significant risks to the character and stability of our unincorporated communities. The county's own program, the PEIR, admits that even with strong safeguards, the impacts of odor, noise, and groundwater use remains significant and unavoidable. Our incorporated areas, while where residents rely on well water and value quiet and rural nature of their neighborhoods, significant and unavoidable is not acceptable. It's not an acceptable standard for a new industry. We cannot, in good conscience, move forward with a program that acknowledges it will degrade the quality of life for existing residents. Beyond the environment, we must address social equity program and the CECP by creating a complex tiered system based on historical criminalization. We're moving away from the framework. Setting up business based on social criteria rather than capital readiness in a highly volatile market often leads to business failure. Also, safety. Look at safety concerns regarding decision point 2. The proposal allows for temporary cannabis events and consumption lodges is a direct threat to our public safety. Our unincorporated roads are not designed, one-way roads, they're not designed for this increased traffic and potential for impaired drivers in these events that it would cause. The sheriffs know this, the Mexican knows this. They're small in nature, and there is no way to track DUI currently as a result of cannabis, and you know that. The CECP proposes a system of tax rebates and grants that would begin costing general fund as early as 2027. We should not be using public revenue to subsidize a specific industry community contributions. And the feedback from our community planning and sponsor group or plan group has been clear. Many recommend maintaining the existing ban. Our groups and boots on the ground understand that a 600-foot or even a 1,000-foot buffer is insufficient in rural topographies. We're in a valley. So think about what Santa Barbara went through and the cost of that lawsuit. That would be a problem. So our recommendation is to significant. It's not.
Chairperson Lance Reamer and fellow board supervisors Chris Barber, Valley Center Planning Group. I'm a resident, born and raised San Diego. Lived at Valley Center 7 years and I'm a retired deputy, 32 years. I've got a lot of exposure to those that have used cannabis. But my point is this, that the Board of Supervisors Commission to come and speak to us at the Valley Center. And we had 5 different alternatives as to what we would vote on. But what I see here are only 3. So 2 of them are missing. And one of them is no project, retention of the current cannabis regulation. So that was on what was given to us, but yet it's not here on A, B, and C. And so I'm asking you to vote like we voted on the alternative 1. No project retention of current cannabis regulations. In other words, we've got 5 dispensaries here. It's accessible to the people who live in unincorporated area. If they want to access it, they have to have it delivered. And I think that's a great option for them. Valley Center, we voted 11-1 against this. We are elected by our constituents in Valley Center, just like we all voted for you. Jim Desmond is our representative, and as was previously said, everyone in the unincorporated area planning groups voted against us for the most part, but I definitely know it's District 5 for sure. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up and ask you to vote on that. I know that we have decision points on the land use regulations. Again, we would vote for D, which is not listed here. And also on the decision point 2, whether or not to allow consumption lounges, option A would suit us. And on the community equity contribution program, option B. So I thank you for listening to us, and we know you make right. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's our group presentation. So now we'll begin with our in-person speakers. As your meeting is called for, if you could please come stand on the arrows and tell us you're trying to speak at the podium. You'll then have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I will be calling individuals in groups of 3, so please listen for your names. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Rashid Hamid, Eduardo Gonzalez, and Eden Carter Jr. You can come forward in any order. Yeah, you're welcome.
My name is Eduardo Gonzalez. I've been a hostess and a party planner for San Diego for the last 14 years. And I see what the cannabis does for people after they party. They actually rehabilitate themselves to the home safety without causing any violence. So to me, it would be great to have more consuming lounges out there for the safety for the people being after 2 o'clock. Another option to be home safe. It would be the micro license. It would be great for the city because then you know that everything that's been grown is legal and grown correctly instead of grown in the fields. So they really take care of what's going on with this issue. So I think option A would be a lot more safety for all of us. So thank you for your help in the situation here, and we will all move forward correctly with this project.
Thank you. And then recalling Rashida Hamid and Carter Jr. Not seeing him moving in the chamber, we'll move on. Next three will be Jacob Moore, Albert Udipete, and William Haynes.
Good morning, I'm Jacob Moore, local business owner operating in Districts 3 and 4, and I reside in District 4. I support option A because it strikes the most practical balance between regulation and opportunity, standards like odor control, security, and money. The concern isn't proximity, it's
Of San Diego. I'm here today because this social equity program is not abstract to me. It is personal. When I was a young child under the age of 4, I survived a life-altering tragedy. I suffered third-degree burns that left me with scars and chronic pain. As I got older, I used marijuana to cope with the pain and not to criminalize for something that is now legal and regulated. That history follows people like me along. Of social equity crime is to restore. Of social equity crime is to restore opportunities.
All of you in the hard road. All of you in the hard road. And I represent the backcountry coalition against rushing through the process, against making the same mistakes other counties have made and are now trying using old data for making good decisions and against pride. We should be for public safety, for protecting our other crops, for protecting our water and the environment, for protecting sensitive areas and populations, and for common sense. I would urge you to look at these current.
To this day, repairing that damage requires policies that actually work. Option A matters because it aligns with state standards. That legal participation becomes impossible. Someone spoke earlier about being last in line. Please take that into consideration when you consider all those other options. We're tired of being last in line.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Supportive of option A. Commercial properties as of now are very limited in rural unincorporated areas, increasing by
Yes, hello everyone, happy New Year to you. That is no project. Please maintain the County. Do this. Documented fact that state. This is throughout California and the cities that have been mentioned by other speakers. It's exceedingly to administer. The county cannot possibly take on this budgetary item. The taxes promised never have materialized for the underserved communities that are seeking the tax revenue from legal cannabis. The black market is still alive and well throughout California, so trying to legalize it does not solve that problem.
Can you please take your name for the audio record?
Of course, Elena Thompson.
Thank you.
Your
time's up.
Oh, okay.
The group, and then the group gets 10 minutes, and each member of the group has a maximum of 4. When you're
I'll do that next time. Thank you. Please vote no.
Good morning, I'm Katie Papaniak, and I just don't see any logic to this program. For many, many years, I served foster youth at San Pasquale Academy and in group homes in far corners of our county. 80% of foster youth are in foster care because their parents had drug or alcohol issues and could not care for them. The adults I had in treatment were trying to get their children back after a series of arrests or prison time. I provided workforce development with goals of training people to make a sustainable wage. The wages in pot shops and cultivation are not sustainable in San Diego. The positive impact on the economic development, the cost of increased law and code enforcement, healthcare, providers, water use, and the strain on our environment is far greater. The impact statement says to protect safety and welfare, minimize potential negative impacts on communities and the environment. Thank you for considering the health and safety of all, not just the residents that thought they got a raw deal from the so-called war on drugs.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Madison. I urge you not to expand cannabis programs in San Diego County. The community and environmental impacts are serious and well documented. Cannabis cultivation is highly energy and water intensive at a time when San Diego County is facing increasing pressure on both of those resources. Mixed light and outdoor grows generate strong persistent odors that travel far beyond property lines and are extremely difficult to mitigate. Other counties, as has been said, have logged thousands of unresolved odor complaints, harming residents' quality of life and property values. Expanding this program would place a disproportionate burden on unincorporated communities that lack the infrastructure and resources to absorb these impacts. As leaders, you have a responsibility to create a safe and healthy environment for our children and teenagers. Public policy should prioritize environments that support healthy growth, learning, and well-being, not increase access and visibility of substances that pose no risks to youth. Please reject any further expansion.
Call for the next three speakers: Becky Walker, Chris Adams, and Cesar Javier.
Good morning, Peggy Walker. I want to thank Valley Center and Fallbrook for expressing the concerns so many of us have about marijuana expansion. When this program was first presented by county staff to planning groups and the public, it was presented with 5 alternatives. Most notable among them, alternative 1, which was no project, as has been mentioned. But now, and that was strongly favored by planning groups and the public. But now we see in the newest staff report that that has been replaced by decision points. And it makes us wonder what happened to alternative 1, which was favored by the public and planning groups. It seems like bait and switch when a clearly defined alternative that reflected broad community support has been removed and replaced with decision points that were never vetted in the same public-facing way. I want to say this erodes public trust in the system.
Thank you. Coming up, and then I'll invite for the next speakers.
There are resorts and live events and food catering businesses on the term. We're not looking for more regulations to be added on top of what's already been. The state is to be added on top of what's already been. The state is approved through the voters, and I do not believe that any new regulations is going to be the way to go. Regulations is going to be the way to go to help all these new businesses start. And as far as live events, thank you for your time and everyone that have worked on.
Serious public health risk. For adults who choose to use cannabis, being forced to purchase it from by generate much needed tax revenue and create jobs in these unincorporated areas rather than pushing residents to spend their monies in other parts of the state. And is a far safer alternative than the wide range of pharmaceutical medications.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Oliver Twist, aka Mary Davis, and as a matter of full disclosure, I am a member of the Alpine Community Planning Group, but I am speaking today as a private citizen. I am adamantly opposed against this measure because of the harms of marijuana and the high THC and harm that was done during that period is real and needs to be acknowledged. But what is never really asked is why was the Black and brown community targeted with poison that ruined their minds, bodies, and futures? And if we fast forward to now what's going on with the high THC levels, I encourage everybody to read the book from Alex Berenson, Tell Your Children about the links to mental health and violence, schizophrenia, psychosis from the high THC levels. Lastly, please refer to San Diego City contracting. I want fair equity on this, not like we saw in Phoenix with a white couple coming in, renting brown people for engagement, getting bonus points. You need real Black and brown owned businesses. Thank you.
Who'd have thought we'd be talking about drugs, you guys? I mean, how crazy is that? To get you guys to pay attention. I mean, obviously not to me, but everybody else that you guys are benefiting from. Because you can talk about children being abused and you guys don't even give a shit. So it's interesting. I feel like, you guys should have brought some samples that you already gave them to the board, because we're going to pass this. You guys might sprinkle in a couple things here and there to pretend that you want regulations, but I don't know if we could also recommend making the chambers a consumption lounge. I feel like that would make everything go a lot smoother, a lot easier to handle. I mean, because this is like a comedy show. But yes, so what else was I going to say? Who knows, because you guys are going to pass it, and I just find it interesting, like what gets you guys to pay attention. Didn't know it would have been drugs, but it's good to know. And there's a lot of things that are interesting when you say it's legal and profitable. The black market was way more profitable, and it's going to go back to plenty soon.
And then Larissa, since you are the chair of the Baldwin Community Sponsor Group and speaking on behalf of that group, you all have 5 minutes.
Good morning, honorable supervisors. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the 5 minutes given my elected roles. My name is Larissa Anderson. I'm the president of the Bonsall Unified School District for 6 consecutive years. I am the chair of the Bonsall Community Sponsor Group. I am here because I love my community. I am here because I love San Diego County. I am here today because I love the United States of America. I am here today because I love planet Earth. Both Bonsall Unified School District and Bonsall Community Sponsor Group independently, unanimously submitted letters urging no option on this ordinance. I also spoke before the Planning Commission before this proposal was advanced with even fewer protections. What's before you today is not simply a cannabis policy. It is a land use decision with irreversible educational and moral consequences, especially for rural communities. Let's reality. Bonsall Unified spans 88 square miles of semi-rural San Diego County. In the absence of appropriate state and local facilities funding, we have tried to build adequate secondary facilities, educational facilities, through multiple failed bond measures, each undermined by NIMBY obstructionist politics for decades. We have land constraints, we have infrastructure constraints, we have zoning obstacles that make it extraordinarily difficult to site a new school. At its core, our work in education is about designing spaces to flourish, places that support learning, purpose, health, teamwork, and long-term community stability. And yet, here is the paradox I need you to sit with. We cannot fast-track a school, but under this ordinance, we can fast-track industrial-scale cannabis cultivation, including proximity to existing and future school sites under the banner of social equity. So let me propose a hypothetical but legally plausible one under the framework you are considering. Imagine a future Bonsall secondary campus, finally built through a public-private partnership because traditional funding failed us. Now, imagine a large-scale cannabis grow operation co-located next door, approved more quickly than the school itself. Students arriving each morning to learn. Student athletes training, practicing, and competing as close as only 600 feet away. That's 1.67 football fields away. Young people spending formative hours breathing particulates, handling plant material, and normalizing daily proximity to a product we simultaneously warn them to avoid. Is this the legacy you want attached to your vote? Is this what equity looks like for rural children? Because to us this feels like extraction, not equity. It feels like sacrifice zones, not when during COVID, when schools shut down, athletics have disappeared, and structure vanished. He struggled, like so many young people did. Marijuana compounded that struggle. Today, he is a person of faith, and he will tell you, unprompted, that access to cannabis should be less than what we have today. This is already a cannabis corridor in the United States. Supervisors, you have influence. Influence and influenza both derive from the same root word. One describes what moves through a population. The other describes what infects it. Your vote shapes what is normalized. Your vote determines what is built nearby. Your vote shapes what the children breathe, see, and come to accept as inevitable. So, I ask you to pause and consider this decision, not just as policymakers, but as stewards. Is this the influence you want attached to your legacy? Is this what you want remembered as the environment you helped create for our children? This is not about demonizing cannabis. This is about where, how, and at whose expense we scale it. If our county can accelerate development that degrades community health faster than it can support schools that lift children toward purpose, schools intentionally designed as spaces to flourish, then something is profoundly out of alignment. I ask you, on behalf of educators, parents, students, and future generations, pause. No lounge or events, and do not continue to develop the socially equitable cannabis program, especially without a legally defensible sequel. And do not make this the legacy that our children inherit. Thank you.
Thank you. Call for the next three speakers: Alexander, Kathleen Lippett, and Andrew Baines.
Over 20 years. This is a major incorporated communities. It is a local planning input, odor, water, traffic, cumulative impacts identified by the county's own environmental analysis. The PEIR identifies significant and unavoidable impacts even after mitigation. These findings were treated as procedural hurdles rather than as information to shape policy choices. State-level buffer standards are inadequate for rural and semi-rural communities with different land use patterns and limited enforcement resources. Ministerial permitting reduces transparency and appeal rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alexander Grable. I reside in District 4. I'm born and raised in San Diego. My parents are from San Diego. My grandma was San Diego High. I'm here to speak on Option A and how it can better affect people in the social equity program. I myself, as an applicant, have been affected also on the war on drugs. But more so important that I want to focus on is the sustainable cultivation practices, that we're not going to be leaching heavy salts into the water. You don't have to use heavy pesticides. There are ways for sustainable cultivation. There are ways to regenerate the soils, regenerate the communities, and those that want to be involved in it. So I want to thank everyone for their time. Option A is the best one. 600 feet is large enough and still make it difficult to find places to operate in. So anything more than that would just be a hindrance and push things more to the illicit market. And I am for legalization and keeping it in time.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Andrew Benez. I'm a cannabis social equity applicant, 39 years old, born and raised over in San Diego, District 4. I'm a business owner over in Imperial Beach for the past 5 years, looking to spend another 5 years over there. I'm the newly installed president of the American Chamber of Commerce Greater San Diego with over 240 business owners and entrepreneurs. I'm also currently the resource coordinator for the FEMA-funded 2024 San Diego Flood Disaster Case Management Program. And I say all that to give you a sense of who I am and my character. Option A aligns with state standards, allows environmental impacts to be addressed through permitting, inspections, and enforcement rather than driven into unregulated and underground activity. A regulated framework enables oversight of water use, energy consumption, and land stewardship, making it environmentally superior to continued restriction. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Call for the next three speakers: Becky Rapp, Kelly Hayes, and Jennifer Peter.
Good morning, my name is Becky Rapp, and I'd like to thank all the planning members who have come forward today, as they have shared the facts based on scientific data, and I stand with them. During county outreach, no project, maintaining current regulations. That option was strongly supported, yet today it's been removed from decision point number 1. Backcountry communities are faced with limited healthcare access, longer emergency response times, wildfire risk, and fragile water resources, and sensitive habitats. These are daily realities. When this item was brought before the Planning Commission, it was obvious that concerns of residents regarding environmental impacts on public safety and enforcement were not addressed. The question regarding an official statement from law enforcement was asked. His staff responded with, law enforcement had not yet been questioned, and that they had no official statement, but that they would address the concern and bring it forward in a future report. Yet we still do not have that information. Thank you.
Good morning, members. My name is Kelly Hayes, and I'm a licensed attorney who represents cannabis businesses. I've been working with this industry since 2014. I lived through the 2017 ban, and it impacted a significant amount of my clients at that time. I want to commend county staff for their extensive efforts and decision points. Additionally, last year, I had the opportunity and privilege to represent the Farmers Cup in hosting the first licensed cannabis consumption event with cannabis sales on site in the city of Vista. The event was very well regulated. We had private security and sheriff staff on site, the fire department, as well as health officials. It was reasonably attended, incident free. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a little birdie.
Please feel free to pull the mic down for yourself again.
I'm vice chair of the Bonneville Community Support Group and also sit on the AG planning groups. I agree with everything that our chairperson says. I think what really boggles my mind is that we're a unincorporated area. We have over 500,000 residents. We get little to no consideration on our taxpayer dollars. We need schools. We need roads. Our roads are already overrun with cars and traffic and safety issues and our evacuation. It just boggles my mind that we're dealing with this when we should be dealing with the basics and the structure first. Thank you.
Thank you. I will call the final three remaining in-person speakers. Liz Yvonne Johnson, Tiffany Harrison, and Ronnie Marino.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ronnie. I'm a DCSD college graduate, and I'm here to advocate for option A. And just really remind y'all that there, like my friend said, there's a lot of sustainable alternatives to growing. We can really take care of our consumers who come into dispensaries and consumption houses. I worked as a bud tender for the past 3 years since I turned 21, advocating for healthy consumption. We all only want healthy THC, Delta-9, no synthetic alternatives, just organic cannabis that's healthy for the body, healthy for the endocannabinoid system. really to regulate a lot of the issues that people experience on the medical side. So there's a really medical benefit, there's a social benefit, and really it's a chance to right a lot of the misjustice that we've experienced in the past. So a lot of our social equity is super important for us. So I appreciate y'all taking the time and consideration for us. We really hope that y'all will vote in support for us.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Harrison. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for Council District 4. Councilman Foster was unable to attend the meeting today this morning, and I'm here to provide comments on the importance of passing Option A and repairing the harm created by the war on drugs. The City of San Diego's Cannabis Equity Report states that for 27% of the total growth among Black inmates and 7% of the total growth of Hispanic inmates and 15% of the growth among white inmates. This data is indicative that racial disparities in sentencing existed during this time. Not only were people of color arrested more, but they received unjust sentencing. The war on drugs perpetuate mass incarceration, tore families apart, left justice-involved individuals with employment barriers, increased police military school to prison pipeline. So we ask that you approve Option A, recommend that it is allows online on-site consumption and supports the community equity contribution program. Thank you.
Thank you. Final call for this non we go to callers. Okay, not seeing it. Requested by Christie by Trump, and when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Barbara Gordon. I urge you to vote no on this program today, as the county has not shown a solution to address the health and safety impacts that marijuana businesses will have on residents and the harms to the environment. A new review in the Journal of the American Medical Association does not support the use of marijuana for pain and insomnia, despite years of promoters and profiteers shouting that it was the next miracle drug. Another concern is that marijuana growers use pesticides, fertilizers that can contaminate the soil and water sources. Cultivation and processing of marijuana generates significant odor and the waste products that can harm the local environment. I urge you to listen to the community and the planning group members who are not asking for or nor do they want more marijuana businesses. Please vote no on this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Your time's up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Consuelo here. Okay, so I don't have a problem with people having access to real clean natural cannabis, but what I do have a problem with is government stepping in, calling the shots, regulating, taxing, and profiting, acting like it owns something that has healed people for long before the system existed. When government sticks its greedy, dirty hands into anything, it stops being about the people and becomes about profiteering. And that's exactly what this looks like. This rollout is shady. Scripted groups, flooding the chambers, scripted callers showing up at the wrong time, not even tracking whether it's a presentation yet, voting for Option A. So sloppy. That alone tells the truth of what's truly happening here. Most of these speakers here don't even know who they're addressing. You've never even been in these chambers until you were asked to come, and it shows. You ain't grassroots. This is manufactured consent. You all might as well be ending, because that's exactly how you're looking. Can't.
Okay, please, everyone in the chamber, we really need to be respectful. Please be respectful of our speakers. And if people are being disruptive, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Thank you.
I'm here
here to speak about my horrible experience with conditional use permits. I used to own Mankind Dispensary. I'm an owner of Dr. Green Thumbs. I'm a minority owner in an Encinitas store, and I'm building a new store, retail cannabis store in Santee. My horrible experience with conditional use permits. After being awarded one in San Diego, I thought I owned a cannabis business, but I was just an operator. Ralph Richmond, who was the landlord, when it came to the renewal of my lease, I started at $15,000 a month rent. After 5 years, it was $85,000. Either I could say yes to that, or he could put a new operator in because I wasn't a cannabis business owner. I didn't own the permit. I could afford the rent at the time, but when the competition came and our revenue was less than half of that than it was in 2021, he wouldn't even cut the rent in half in 2025. In fact, he forced me to we couldn't afford, so we fire sold that business.
Everybody else got a longer time to speak.
Yeah, sorry, it's 1 minute per person. Great, thank you so much. All right, we'll go to our next caller.
Paul Bowles. It's a shame that the committee is presenting this with 4 options after a whole 4 years. You asked the committee for recommendations, not options. Isn't recommendations what we pay taxes for? Now, cannabis pesticides are especially toxic, so the smoke is more than just smoke. And in a water-poor area like this one, cannabis irrigation uses a huge amount of water everywhere. It's concerning that the twisted and sometimes poorly maintained roads in tribal areas in East County impede access for police and emergency services if there's an urgent need. Fix the roads first. Cannabis boosts crime. Serial robbers at cannabis stores. There was reason.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, members of the board. My name is Josh Lewis. I'm the Government Relations Manager at Mark. We're a California-based licensed cannabis retailer operating 17 regulated storefronts across the state. I'm here today to encourage you to choose option A for decision points 1 and 2. Option A gives the county greater flexibility to evaluate sites that actually work rather than unnecessarily shrinking the pool of eligible properties, aligning with state standards, allows staff to assess locations based on practical real-world factors such as zoning, site design, access, and circulation and compatibility with surrounding areas. Option 2A provides staff the direction they need to develop a temporary cannabis event program in San Diego County, unlocking the myriad economic and social benefits that these types of events can deliver. These events provide controlled, regulated access for adult consumers while generating measurable economic activity and local revenue. And Mark has proven experience operating licensed cannabis sales at large-scale temporary events, including the California State Fair. These events show that cannabis can be integrated into major public gatherings with clear security protocols, strict age verification, defined consumption areas, in coordination with regulators and local officials, while producing tangible economic benefits. Not in your attempt to stay.
Our next speaker. Our next speaker is Lawrence. Your phone may be muted. I'm sorry, Lawrence, we can't hear you. There's a lot of feedback coming from your phone.
Is that better?
That is much better. We'll go ahead and start your time when you're ready.
Okay.
As a landowner in the unincorporated area of San Diego, the county's adoption of option A gives these businesses an opportunity to thrive, which will increase the tax base. This will benefit the constituents in Joel Anderson's district. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hi, my name is David Evans. I'm Senior Counsel for Cannabis Industry Victims Educating Litigators. We conduct or fund litigation against state and local governments and the marijuana industry. Your state marijuana and medical marijuana program is a fraudulent national joke. You are low-hanging. We are coming to California. San Diego now has our attention. And I ask that anybody that sets up a cannabis store in regard to this, please get insurance so that when we sue you, there'll be a pot of money we can draw upon. Councilman Lucas had to get a hold of me, and I hope that you do not go forward with this program.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning. I'm Lavon Nolan, proudly serving the Valley Center Community Planning Group, speaking this morning as a resident. Discussion point number 3, community contribution programs. I and many others own small businesses in the county. Many provide great benefits for our community, but not only allowed, but now being rewarded for it. Where is the $5,000 coming from? I truly hope not my tax dollars. Again, when will the businesses that have followed the law and paid our taxes on time be rewarded? Please understand, I'm not against the medical use of cannabis. I know cannabis can be a great benefit and help to individuals who can benefit from it. I'm against this contribution program. I'm in favor of option B. Do not continue to develop the CECP. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is Ann Riddle. Because I live in the unincorporated area, I attended 2 planning groups, and I went to the listening session. So I was extremely surprised by the actual county staff report, because it bore no resemblance to the PowerPoint presentation we received on those occasions. There we had the choice of businesses as to, and yet that information is not shown up in the staff report. As someone said, this is a bait and switch idea that needs to be examined. Just for a point of information, I am very much against.
Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
It's true that the PEIR found that odor, noise, and groundwater use to be significant and unavoidable, and community members recommend a ban. That's all that matters, not profit. Any consideration of what would harm the underserved backcountry is unacceptable. Talk about inequity. No one should be subjected to the dangers of impaired driving from lounges on winding mountain roads. There's already not enough law enforcement. Why can't there be a combination option of both B and C? The so-called community incentive grants function as bribes to give folk benefits to negatively affected communities. How many people who spoke in favor actually live in the unincorporated communities? Almost none, it was obvious. Let me tell you, people live in the backcountry because they want nothing to do with this urban trauma and drama. These county puppets are going to accept career fraudster, Newsom, racist injustice money, sell out the unincorporated communities like they always do, and take the red carpet for the cartel and politicians like Cardenas and Newsom to get rich off the false profits from the child slave workers working on the farm. Government loves to profit off the token Black Americans addicted to drugs that were presented to us today in this presentation.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
is Tom Marvin. They call me Farmer Tom. I'm a San Diego County native. I'm a federal government cannabis educator. I'm a San Diego County social equity applicant. I'm a victim of the war on cannabis and was negatively affected my family for 25 years. Cannabis is safer than alcohol. I support option A and cannabis conception houses events. No fentanyl-laced cannabis, no mystery ingredients, just transparency and accountability. This is about protecting public health, supporting the economy. The San Diego County Social Equity Education Program benefits everyone, from the applicants to the community. This program goes beyond cannabis and provides hands-on education on how to start and manage a sustainable business of any kind. I personally walked away with sharper skills and understanding modern business processes. In closing, you can teach an old dog new tricks. I support option A. My name is Farmer Tom Lauerman, and name is San Diego.
Thank you. Time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Hello, my name is Lynn Maldow. I am a resident of the rural unincorporated county and a member of the Rainbow Community Planning Group and the ACT. Our Rainbow Group is aligned with and supports the carefully considered positions and points made by the Fallbrook Valley Center and Bonneville Community Group who oppose this program and believe that any further work on it should be stopped. In addition, the economics no longer support the revenue stream that was once conceived. The cost for everything involved greatly outweigh the financial benefit from fees and etc. There's no real financial justification for expansion of the program beyond its current state. Please consider the positions of 500,000 people in the rural unincorporated areas over those few business interests that want you to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
And then, can you guys hear me?
Yes, on.
Okay,
go ahead and begin your comments. You
okay,
can
thanks.
halfway through, so if you want to begin your comments, I'll restart your time.
Okay, sure. Thank God that President Trump put marijuana in Schedule 1 medical staff into experiments, learn different things, open it up. I'm definitely against it being cultivated in the backcountry in San Diego. That's just not right. You can have the dope shops in different districts and have those bars that smoke it, but stay away from the backcountry. It's very bad for us. And then with the social equity words, you kind of need to define what that is. Social equitable stuff. In the world with the Supreme Court Justice, a woman can't even find what a woman is. She needed a degree in biology. You guys are changing the words all day long. But I take it as a white guy, that means the black guys are losing out on money and they want some. So maybe go for the Somali angle on that. Somali pot shop.
Your time is up. And Chair Lawson, that concludes public.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll now turn to the Vice Chair for her comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, there's but and been engaged on this issue for a long time. There are even some of you who I hear calling in oftentimes that are here today. So thank you so much for being here. Many of you are familiar with my history around social equity programs with regards to cannabis. So half the room is going to be okay, and the other half will not be. I just want to be very upfront about that. But all that being said, I do think that this is still a forum where we can all express
where we stand, this is an issue where you're kind of going to be on one side or the other, and for various reasons, which I will discuss briefly. But before I do that, I want to thank our DCAO, Dahlia Lynch, and your staff at Planning and Development Services for bringing this long-awaited item forward to us today. I also want to specifically thank Director Vince Nicoletti and Deputy Director Rami College for your team's hard work in putting together the program environmental impact report and compiling recommendations for zoning ordinance and regulatory codes to operate cannabis businesses in the unincorporated area. Also like to thank the Director of the Office of Equity and Racial Justice, Terrell Simmons, and Social Equity Manager Brandon Lewis for your work in the development of the socially equitable cannabis program for the entire county. All of this required your expertise, but it also required quite a bit of community outreach over the years. So I want to thank you all for that and for keeping us abreast of all of those developments as they went along with their time in the community. We are at a crossroads here. It has been a long time since this board directed staff to do some more due diligence around this issue. So we're at a point where we can continue to delay, or we can decide, where we want to go with regulations right here and today. And of course, I would advocate the latter. I do believe that it will be in my motion later, but based on the recommendations here forward, I am going to ask this board to support the option A for all of the decision points that we have here listed in the board letter. Want to address a couple of things. For me, this really has always been about a moral obligation to repair harm. I also saw communities being ruined by this quote war on drugs when the foundation of those policy decisions were really rooted in a historic racial criminalization of cannabis. We do have study after study after study that shows us that consumption among various groups that we all identify with is at pretty equal levels. But where we have the disparity is how Black and brown people in certain neighborhoods were treated by based on that consumption. That is where the difference lies. And I do think that I grew up with a system where marijuana was not legal. When it became legal, we had very people that were never harmed by the system that were becoming millionaires off of this new industry. That is not right. It doesn't matter how you feel about cannabis, it is wrong. So in my opinion, I have a moral obligation to try to repair that harm based on the permission of the people that put me in this office. So there are also the economic benefits. The U.S. legal cannabis market saw an impressive 425,000 workers employed in 2024, with the industry creating store managers, growers, botanists, lab technicians, scientists, compliance officers, security personnel, and medical researchers. Cannabis is a booming industry, and job creation will continue to rise, benefiting workers across various sectors. Additionally, in 2026, the U.S. is projected to make $46 billion in cannabis sales, with sales generating significant tax revenue for state and local governments. With a successful implementation of the SECP, we could see additional revenue for public services that were supposed to go into the unincorporated area here in the county, infrastructure, healthcare, and behavioral health programs. In addition to these potential benefits, we can help residents negatively impacted by the war on drugs. And there's also a diverse group of people that are negatively impacted by the war on drugs, as we've heard and saw here today. Our strategic plan in the county includes 5 strategic initiatives: equity, sustainability, community empowerment, and justice. with a goal to create a county government culture of equity, belonging, and racial justice. And I want to say again that the war on drugs was fundamentally designed to discriminate. This war revealed an overarching theme in which excessively punitive legislation, prosecution, and incarceration combined to harm and stigmatize minority populations, and particularly young African American males. The successful implementation of the SCCP only support the equity goals set forth by the county and undo the harms from this war on drugs. Ultimately, we cannot afford to have the county left behind in the potential economic opportunity for residents, additional revenue to fund public services, and healing for our communities. This is why I support the social equitable cannabis program here today, and as I have throughout the majority of my adult life. So with that, I do have a couple of questions, and this is more so switching to the issue around background checks for social equity applicants and their ability to stay at a county cannabis license. I wanted to know a little bit of the difference between the county and the state's framework on that. I want to make sure that we are not creating additional barriers by some of our local procedures here around background checks. So if we were to leave the current regulatory code the way it is right now, and on top of an SCP that we could potentially be creating and implementing, what is there? What impact would that have on the applicants?
Supervisor to the chair. Currently, social equity applicants will have to go through both the county and the state background check process. And the code offers, the county code offers more discretion in terms of disqualifying criteria, and the state has very clear and defined processes in the state's process. That's concerned about the county's background check in terms of the moral servitude. Undefined, and they believe that this may not align with some of the goals that the program is intended.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Simmons. I think the clearer the better with regard to the background check process. I think that there is a history, right, in our criminal legal system. Some of this certainly has been done intentionally, some of it may be unintentionally. And the more discretion we give, the more discrimination we may see in that piece of the process. So I'm going to go ahead this time, based on your answer, move that we adopt option A for items 2, 3, and 4, and then add a fourth area of policy direction, asking staff to return to this board in June with drafts to the regulatory code that rely on the state background check for receiving cannabis operating certificate. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair, for your comments. Before we move on to the board discussion, I do want to just give a moment. There were a number of questions raised by public comment that I want to make sure are adequately addressed. To discuss the issue that a number of community planning group members brought up regarding the no project option not being part of this hearing. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Moss-Weaver. Thank you to everybody who's attended. We certainly appreciate all of the community engagement that we've had the opportunity to have with so many of you on various sides of this issue. I did want to speak to what many of the planning and sponsor group chairs and members mentioned regarding the absence of the no project alternative. I wanted to clarify, and certainly give my team the opportunity to clarify, that absolutely will be part of the options provided this year. Today's hearing was really an opportunity to look at a subset of the options and some very specific issues to get further clarification and direction from this board as to how they wanted to develop the program further, so that when we come back in the summer with the no project option, we also have a little more refinement on the other options we bring forward. So apologies for any lack of clarity there. I know there's been a lot of engagement with all of you, but please do know that it's absolutely part of the options. Today's discussion was just a subset of that. Any clarification, Director Nicole?
Thank you. Just to add on to that, the board hearing report does note that the no project is still an option that the board may remain with the current zoning that prohibits it. Attachment D within the hearing report does list out the no option. I think this communication was a reflection of under the California Environmental Quality Act. We look at a formal no option or no project alternative when we did community outreach on the EIR. That's what that was shared. When we come back in June, we will absolutely have that as an option as well.
That was helpful, thank you. Sue, I'll take the floor to Chair. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to start by first thanking everyone who spoke out today for taking the time, coming and sharing your views, whether you for it or against it or neutral. I know it takes a lot of time out of your day to come and give your comments, so I really appreciate your feedback. I want
sensitive receptors and buffers and separation between uses found in options B and C. It overall reduced the availability of parcels and acreages by around unincorporated area wide. Now, those reductions were actually greater in the more urban areas, where in the unincorporated areas there's a lot less land use authority and a less available zoning. And then we found that there's a lot more sensitive receptors, so there's a compounded effect. And the net result in some of these urban areas is only a few parcels remaining available, and in some cases not across options B and C.
Thank you for that. So am I correct in assessing that both options, B and C, would likely end in these potential cannabis businesses being pushed out to the more rural areas in districts 2 and 5?
Yes, and what we found is there's just more land available in the district, the more rural districts. More available zoning. So with that comes many more parcels available.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want to second Vice Chair's recommendations to go with option A, including the added number 4 that she mentioned, state background checks for cannabis business licensing. I think we need to remember and center ourselves on why this program matters. Cannabis legalization did not erase the harms of the past. It simply changed the law going forward while the consequences of prohibition remained meaningful. Cannabis enforcement was not applied evenly. Certain communities, particularly low-income communities and communities of color, were over-policed, arrested at higher rates, and continue to carry the impacts today. A cannabis conviction affects far more than jail time. It can limit employment, housing, education, professional licensing, and long-term economic mobility, often for life. The socially equitable cannabis program is not a cure for those harms. It is a necessary band-aid, an effort to acknowledge past injustice and reduce barriers that still exist. Entrepreneurship is a pathway to self-reliance and economic mobility. Without targeted support, the legal cannabis market would overwhelmingly benefit those who already have access to capital, legal expertise, and connections. This program was developed thoughtfully and deliberatively and reflects years of board direction, extensive public engagement, and alignment with state guidelines. This program supports mentorship, workforce development, youth education, record expungement, and community reinvestment, funded in part with cannabis tax revenue that supports prevention and public health efforts. And at its core, this is an equity issue. Supporting this program means acknowledging past harm, creating a regulated and accountable system, and ensuring legalization does not leave behind the very communities most impacted by prohibition. That concludes my remarks, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Turn the floor to Supervisor Anderson.
This program has an opportunity to bring such needed economic growth to the unincorporated areas. For many of my constituents, this may not be the preferred method. But Prop 64 passed in 2016, and it's the law of the land. And it's our job as county supervisors not to rewrite the law, but rather implement the law in our community in a way that least harms our communities. While I've been supportive of this program, and I voted in favor early on, we have discussed barriers that made sense for my community. Mind you, I have the largest population of unincorporated residents in my district. With that, we've had a lot of outreach from my office into my district, and a lot of folks are really concerned about school location and playgrounds. And while the state only requires 600 feet from schools, cities like San Diego, La Mesa, others have put 1,000 square feet from schools. They put restrictions on playgrounds. And this resonates with me. It is for some child. You know, by the way, just a quick shout out to my board members that voted in favor. It was unanimous at the time to give the DA and the sheriff $2.5 million to shut down over 100 illegal pot shops in my district. One was next door to Lakeside Elementary School. And we know that these illegal pot shops or drug shops, they don't care who they sell to. They're not accountable to anybody. And so I see this as a moving towards this. And by the way, for people that are watching, they may not know 4 of the 5 cannabis shops in the unincorporated over the last, 7 years are in my district. They went through the planning group. They were approved by the community, and I get no complaints about them. So we know that it can be done correctly if we use the system to do it. But I don't want to create additional hardships. And at the same time, allowing people to operate as the initiative was suggested. I'd like to go back and look, and I'm offering this as a friendly amendment. Like schools and playgrounds in up to 1,000 feet. The other part is, people talk about path of travel, they talk about straight lines. I like the measurement to be done in parcels. It's enforceable, and I want to make sure that it's very clear and everybody understands and it's irregular in how we approach it. The goal here is not to remove options for the social equity applicants, but remove where these products might end up in the hands of youth. I went ahead and had staff put together numbers for us. So if we were to take these changes under option A, move it more towards a hybrid of option B, there'd still be 1,434 parcels in commercial zones, 746 parcels in industrial zones, and 44,677 parcels in agricultural zones. So we're not saying, oh my gosh, we're going to eliminate all possibilities. We're trying to strike a very reasonable approach that makes it more, and by the way, not everybody in my district agrees on this issue, surprisingly. Some people are for it, and many people are against it. But I think that this is, for me, this would be the best way I could represent my district of such diverse opinions. So again, I'm not trying to be unreasonable, but I'm following what my constituents, the majority of my constituents, want, who are most impacted by what we do today and down the road. So I'm respectfully requesting that we change when it comes to playgrounds and county parks and schools. So if you're willing to accept that, I can get a yes. Otherwise, unfortunately, I'll have to vote no because this flies in the face of protecting kids in my district.
I'll go ahead and change the Vice Chair your motion, so I'll just let you guys go back.
Sure, thank you, and I appreciate the conversation. I really still think that these larger buffer requirements and adding more system use, which by the way, schools are already on the 600-foot schools, daycare, youth centers. I think that would significantly reduce where we would be able to meet the goals of some of the other programs. So I'm going to see what the motion on the floor does for now.
Madam Chair, I'd like to speak up if I could.
Yes, and just, I think, first of all, thank you so much for being here and participating remotely, Supervisor Desmond. If you use your little icon to raise your hand, I can see it, and I'll put you on the list. So now you're on the list.
I can't find the icon here. It used to be a lot in previous meetings. I can see it, but maybe the flu is preventing it from offering different options from what's coming before us. So I'm glad there was some clarification. But, overall, I don't agree with the premise. Cannot down the line. To me, we're discriminating the law. And yes, there was socioeconomic and other reasons where, poor people, whatever, were using more marijuana. But I don't think this is a remedy for that at all. So I think this is detrimental, actually, to even the word equity. And I think an irresponsible use of the concept. This isn't equity in my mind. So today, and this isn't about, whether cannabis is legal or not. And I'm okay with people using cannabis for medical reasons, for recreational reasons, and things like that. But this is really about land use and how cannabis should be sold, used, and cultivated in the unincorporated areas. So on this topic, I disagree with the motion. We already have 5 dispensaries in the unincorporated areas, and delivery is available everywhere. So it's not like we're restricting marijuana or cannabis to people in the unincorporated area. With 2A, I think I would support option C, to prohibit outdoor cultivation. And primarily because of the odor. And this stuff stinks. And it, it doesn't travel 1 football field. It stays in the air and lingers. And if the outdoor cultivation means you still can cultivate it indoors. You just have to filter it, you have to use fans, you have to do something so that you're just not emitting a strong odor from cannabis growth. And I get it protecting schools and playgrounds and things like that, but you got housing or houses next to a big marijuana field. I mean, the stench coming off of it is a huge issue. So I think prohibiting the outdoor cultivation would be a step in the right direction. I'm against the lounges. I think that's a crazy idea, especially in the windy roads and back in the unincorporated area. And also, I think option B on 4 is not to continue the community contributions or taxpayer dollars going towards these efforts. So, if we had, if the motion was C, B, and B, I could support it, but I just think this is a stretch for the entire equity portion of what we're trying to accomplish here. And I think, this is detrimental to the unincorporated areas. And there's not one sponsor group or a planning group. There's like 29 sponsor groups and planning groups in the unincorporated areas. Not one of them came out in favor of moving forward with this. And I think the stench and the potential harm is even worse. So I'm going to be voting no on the item. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor in a second. Let me just take a moment. First of all, I really want to appreciate everyone who came today. This is obviously an issue that really matters to so many folks in our community, and I see a lot of you made maybe your first or second meeting, and I hope participate in this really critical deliberative process. I just want to kind of take a second to share a little bit to my colleagues and to the public regarding my thought process on this item. First of all, we know that the law has changed. Historically, and for decades, marijuana was illegal. You can look at the historical precedent as to why marijuana was prohibited, while tobacco and alcohol were not. I think that is extremely instructive as we then begin to trace what the impact of a carceral approach to marijuana production and consumption has been on our communities, and especially our Black and brown communities throughout the United States. And when we look at this program, you have to embed it in the historical reality that laws that look neutral on their face are not neutral in their intent or their implementation. And so in that, as a person who is deeply, deeply committed to the principle of fairness and before the rule of law, and the notion that all of us should be equal, it strikes a chord of deep discomfort and regret, and a commitment that we as a society have to do better moving forward. And so I think it is really important that we do not forget the historical precedent that we inherit when we sit and we talk about cannabis and cannabis cultivation and production, and the raw truth that there are people who have lost decades of their lives because they were incarcerated and targeted for engaging in activities that are not only now legal, are now profitable, and have become a source of pretty significant market returns for big, private equity investors across the United States. Deep ethical and moral discomfort for me, and I think that is something we have to be centered on as we think about this issue in front of us today. So from my perspective, I think we have to certainly protect our communities, and especially our kids, from the negative impacts of any kind of substances that might have a negative impact on their lives and their well-being. And certainly that's true with tobacco, it's true with alcohol, it's true with marijuana. I think it's true with social media, right? There's a lot of toxic substances in our communities that have really negative impact on people when they don't have the frontal lobe development to make good choices. And again, I think many of you have noticed I've been particularly concerned about the impacts of social media and its targeting and of young people in trying to create addictive behaviors. So that is very centered for me. It is really critical that we prevent our young people from being exposed to the extent possible to addictive behaviors and being kind of targeted by companies that seek to profit from exploiting kids who just aren't able to make better choices. So that, for me, is the frame. These are the issues that I want to center as we move forward. We've now considered this issue many times. I think there's been lots and lots of really powerful, important discussions. The initial frameworks that were brought to us didn't really have a lot of setbacks for certain kinds of spaces that we know we might want to make sure are not, the targeted area for marijuana sales. So I think we've moved pretty far and developed, I think, a really robust framework. The state legislature has engaged in a very deliberative and thoughtful process to balance these interests. And And what I don't want to do is replicate the injustices of the past by using facially neutral language that looks like it's neutral, but in reality then makes there absolutely no areas available for cannabis cultivation, and so therefore, even if it looks neutral in the face, the impact in reality is to continue to reproduce historical injustices. So that is where obviously looking at these issues as we move forward, but to lean towards supporting the motion on the floor by the vice chair, and I know we will see a report back and we will continue working on this, but I think that her motion strikes the right balance to protect our communities while doing everything we can to rectify the injustices of the past. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for all of you for being here today. We have a motion on the floor, and in a second, we can go ahead and go.
And just to clarify as well, your motion includes the staff recommendation to find the proposed actions are not subject to CEQA as well?
That is correct.
Thank you. And then let me go ahead and call the vote. Oh, sorry, I've got to do a roll call vote again. Supervisor Anderson. Supervisor Desmond.
No.
Chairperson McGeary.
Yes.
Vice Chair Montgomery Stepp.
Yes.
And Chair Lawson Reamer.
Yes.
And that motion passes with Supervisor Anderson.
Yes.
All the rest of you being present voting aye.
Okay, thank you everyone for your participation, for being here today. The chamber as quiet as possible would be great. We will take a recess. We will meet in 15 minutes. That will be at 1:00.
The board is recessed. The board is recessed.
I'm like, I can't hear now. Not like they'll be back at 1:15. It'll probably be like 1:30.
Yeah.